Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the mighty TOG II, the Tier 6 British Heavy. Now, while I've been doing the review of this, it sort of suddenly dawned on me that you don't really see too many of these on the battlefield. When I first started playing this on PS4, when it came out last year, obviously it's been out a lot longer on other consoles, but I did see a few of these, when I was sort of knocking around Tier 6. You would see maybe at least one a day, something like that. But now, it is very, very rare that I actually see one of these. Now, it is not a very good tank. And before you all start shouting at the screen, or shouting at the screen, all you TOG fans out there, you've got to admit it. Come on, it's not a very good tank, but it is fun. It does have a couple of redeeming features, but it's not very good. Let's just put it bluntly. It's just not. Anyway, so Tier 6 Premium Heavy Tank gets preferential matchmaking, only sees up to Tier 7, and sits in the British tech tree at 3,500 silver. Now, unlike most heavy tanks, it doesn't get armour. It doesn't particularly even get what you would call an engine as such, and is incredibly slow, but it does have a very decent gun, and well, for the tier, and also it has a bit of a trick up its sleeve to do with its health pool. It is absolutely massive. It has 1,400 health. That's 1,400 health points. Now that's, this is a Tier 6 heavy, but that's sort of Tier 7 heavy health pool. So, you do have a lot of health to play with, and most of the time you're going to be top tier anyway. So, there's a lot of the tanks on the battlefield that you will have like double the health of. So, that it does have that going for it. Now, its bonuses, it gets a 38% silver bonus and a 30% XP bonus. And, I've said this is a bad tank, and it basically is. But I like it. It's good fun. It does work best in platoons, so anybody that's considering buying one of these, you really need to sort of platoon in these. That's when they really come into their own. So if you've got 3 of these with 1,400 health each, you 3 in your platoon, if you're top tier, you will probably have as much health between you as maybe half the enemy team, almost. It's that sort of, it is a bit that sort of daft, and the amount of firepower you've got with 3 of these 17-pounders firing is kind of ridiculous. Even in a 2-man platoon, they work quite well. When you're on your own, you do have to work a bit harder, and you've really got to be good at reading the map. And you've got to sort of commit. And one of the best things to do when you're on your own is try and put yourself in a position where the enemy will come to you and will have to stand and fight, and you can basically put your DPM to work and try and soak up some of those hits using your health, and maybe even buy enough time for the rest of your team to come and finish them off, or do what they're doing. It can be that sort of thing when you're on your own. You're sort of there as an obstacle almost. You can't be chasing people around the battlefield because you're ridiculously slow. Let's have a look at the gun first. Well, like I say, it's an Ordnance Quickfire 17-pounder, very common amongst the British tanks. 12 rounds a minute, 171 pen, 150 damage. 239 on your premium, which are APCR, 38190 for your HE. 2.3 second aiming time, and not terrible accuracy at 0.36. Your traverse is hideous at 20 degrees a second for your hull. It's not too bad on your turret though at 32 degrees a second, and your view range is 360 meters, which I wouldn't say is about average, possibly for the tier, but I'll check on the Bulldog in a minute. British Bulldog, that is. Now, supplies wise, 175 for your AP, for your AP rounds, 3,200 for your APCR, and 75 silver for your HE. And you do carry a lot of ammunition. What's that? 144 rounds of ammunition. So you do carry quite a lot. And to be honest, it's a good job because you can fire a lot of ammo in this. It has got, like I say, decent rate of fire. Now, crew skills while we're here. This is actually the crew out of my Chieftain, but if you take off maybe Track Mechanic, although you could leave that on, but I would say Sixth Sense, Safe Stowage, Repairs, Brothers in Arms, You also want snapshot, smooth ride, possibly clutch braking as well, I would say, and maybe even off-road driving, and some say firefighting as well, because it has got a massive engine. We'll have a look at that in a second. Now, I've also mentioned the hit points, haven't I? Yeah. Equipment-wise, a little bit different for this, and I've sort of done a lot of looking into this when I first got the TOG, and it's a bit of a different equipment setup, like I say. So I've got the gun rammer to increase the rate of fire. The vents will also help with that, and brothers in arms. You can also, maybe, if you're feeling brave, take the fire extinguisher off and put a premium food item on. Is it put in T for the British? I think it is. But yeah, gun rammer, vents, and a spore liner. It's actually a super heavy spore liner. It is quite expensive. Let's have a look. But you get plus 50% to armor protection from ramming and explosions, which means HE, artillery. I'm looking in your direction. And 50% chance to protect crew from critical damage. Trust me, from having this, I never used to have a spore liner on it, and artillery used to punish me something rotten. Since putting it on, they still try and punish me, but it takes them a lot longer, because the spore liner sort of takes basically roughly about half of the splash damage off. I don't think it affects it if it pens, but if they just hit and they're doing splash, it takes about half of that off. It might actually affect it when it pens. I can't quite remember now, so I do apologise. But anyway, it really helps against RT, so get a spore liner on it. Now, module wise, huge dirty grey engine, like I said, 600 horsepower, takes up most of the back of this thing, and this thing is massive. A lot of people do refer to it as a bit of a land boat or a barge, or, you know, a land yacht. And you know, it's quite common to hear people say, you know, sailing across the battlefield in my TOG, and it's kind of what it is. But yeah, 600 horsepower engine, which translates to a very poor power to weight ratio of 7.39 and a hideous top speed of 14 kilometers an hour. Not much better in reverse, with with 7 kilometers an hour backwards and a 15% chance of fire. And like I say, massive engine, huge engine deck. RT just love to put shells onto it. You can actually side scrape in this thing if you're careful, and I mean, you do have to be careful, but I've seen it done. I'm not very good at it, but I've seen it done. The worst part is actually trying to manoeuvre in the towns and sort of get into a position where you can do it. Concealment, by the way, is virtually non-existent. 0.09 stationary, 0.05 moving. You can see this thing from space, so that's kind of understandable. The gun on the front, like I say, you know, it's a decent gun. You've got 20 degrees of gun elevation, and you've got a minus 10 degrees of gun depression, so you can use that over the ridge lines, which is kind of advisable if you can get to that point, because your front of your arm, even though it has got slight angling to it, there's really not much there, and it's, you know, fairly flat, and, well, basically flat. There's only some of the lower tier stuff that's going to sort of struggle to pen you from the front. Most of the things at sort of tier 5 and 6 don't really have much trouble penning the front of this. Big old tracks all the way down underneath the side. It kind of does look like the hull of a boat almost. Your terrain resistances 1.2, 1.3 and 2.3, which is why I said, you know, maybe off-road driving, but I'd say that's probably one of the last ones you want to put on it. Turret on top. You've got your radio in the back of the turret. It kind of looks very similar to some of the Churchill turrets and the sort of Cromwell turrets, just supersized. Where we've got ammunition blocks, 2 massive ammo blocks towards the back of the turret. In fact, you can just see the outline there, but there are 2 doors just on either side of the hull, and the ammo racks are just behind those doors, so you'll be able to see those on the armor model, actually, because they are different armor values. And then crewmen, you've got 6 in here. You've got the, what I'm assuming is the radio operator sat on his own at the back. You've got the commander, gunner and loader up in the turret, and then you've got the driver and assistant driver down in the front of the hull. Now, basic armor profile. When I can find the numbers again. Right, 76 on the front of the hull and 76 on the side, but you can see that doesn't quite tell the whole story. 51 on the rear, and the turret is 114 on the front, 76 on the sides, and 53 on the rear. But let's have a look at the sort of armor values and see what it goes up to. But You see that patch there, that rectangular patch underneath the turret? They're the doors I was on about. Just behind those, so just to the left as we're looking, are where the rather large ammo blocks are. If you want to try and pop the turret on one of these. In fact, I don't even know if the turret does come off these. There are certain tanks it doesn't. I'll have to try and ammo rack one next time and see what I can find out. Right, 1 to 20mm is just the top of the turret and parts of, I wouldn't say it's the turret ring, possibly, I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, it's inside the turret. And I think that's it. Yeah, nothing else. 21 to 30 is the whole top deck and the whole underside of the whole floor. And, well, the hull actually extends out over the tracks, as you can see there, and has the thinner bits there, so... No, we're going to say try and go through there, but I won't even bother. The tracks are too thick. Just put it straight through the front. You know, that sort of thing. I don't think you'll struggle too much. 31 to 50. Massive tracks. They fall into that bracket. So they're either 31mm or 50mm of spaced armour. Because don't forget, tracks act as spaced armour. Also, the sloped, well, the whole entire rear of the tank falls into that bracket as well. 51 to 70. The two doors on the side, which you'll see on the actual model. The back of the turret. The sloped bit at the front, and various little patches on the front as well, the sort of driver's viewports, etc. on the front, and they are quite noticeable. So again, I'll just have a quick look at those before we go in. Thin strips of armour just covering the tracks, the doors, like I say, and the rear portion of the hull sides. 71 to 90, this is supposed to be 76 on the side of the hull. And it's just those portions there surrounding the door and towards the back of the hull. All the side of the turret and the turret cheeks fall into that category. So the 114 on the front of the turret isn't all over, and the turret cheeks are kind of weak. So if you are just showing your turret, or there is one just showing its turret, and you can't pen directly at the front, just try those slope bits just either side. You've probably got a higher penetration chance, because you don't really, well, I don't think there is a, no commander's cupola. The front of the tank, apart from those patches that we saw earlier, falls into that, and that's the full upper, lower glacis everywhere. But like I say, you know, there's not much that really struggles to pen the front of one of these, and they're so easy to get around as well. ELCs, fantastic against these, because if you get alongside it, or even just right up behind it, they can't shoot you a lot of the time. So yeah, do keep that in mind, those ELC drivers out there. And then the last one is 114, which is just the front of the turret, literally. You see those empty patches there, though? They are slightly thinner armour. They actually fall into that category. So again, if you can't go through the turret cheeks, and you can't go through the front, try and aim for those small spaces. And we'll have a look now. There we go. So you've got the machine gun and the machine gunner's port just next to it. What I would say is sort of driver's protection, that rectangle in the front, they're the weaker spots on the front. They're the big doors on the sides. That whole rectangle bit that the doors are in are weaker as well. And you can see the thicker parts of the armour because it steps in slightly towards the rear, and that's where it thins off. So there you go. Anyway, enough of me rambling on here. Let's get into the replays and see how it actually how it plays. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays. Just two. Well, I think the second one is a bit longer, and that's simply because it takes you so long to get anywhere. Now, I'd say these two are pretty average matches, and I was hoping, I was hoping to do a bit of TOG platooning as well, because my wife's got one, and include it in this, but with the TOG being so slow, if you survive into a match and sort of seem, do okay, it can go on for quite a while, because it does, this isn't half speed, this is how fast it is. So I think what I might try and do is over the next week or so try and include a couple of TOG platoon videos in something somewhere, maybe as a random instruction, or even just a part 2 to this, something like that. But yeah, a couple of ways you can play. I mean, one of them, like I said before, is try and put yourself into a position where the enemy are going to have to come through you, and they're going to have to stand and fight. You can try and use your, your DPM and your health pool to your advantage and that sort of thing. Other people say when you top tier, you basically just got to choose a route through the map and just keep moving. Don't stop when you see an enemy tank, just keep moving, keep firing at them. Because it's so slow, it is pretty good at hitting stuff on the move, or when you're moving, should I say. And if you get smooth ride as well, obviously that improves. That improves that as well. Now this one, this match is actually with the gun rammer, with the spore liner, and with the gun laying drive. The second match is with the vents instead of the gun laying drive, and me personally, I think it performs better with the vents as opposed to the gun laying drive. The gun laying drive doesn't seem to make too much of a difference because you're mostly moving anyway. But yeah, so like I say, there are a couple of different ways you can play it, and depending on who you speak to, they'll say, you know, they'll have a different opinion. There'll be normally one of two. They'll either keep it moving and firing, or the other one is, like I say, get yourself into a position where the enemy will have to come through you. They're going to have to stand and fight you, and you can try and hold them off. Well, not, I don't mean on your own, but you know what I mean. You just let them come to you, sort of thing. Now, where I've positioned myself here, it's not brilliant, although at the moment all I'm doing is getting tracked. I don't seem to be taking any damage. I'm trying to get a couple of shots in over there, and I've got a feeling, yeah, it was that TD that I took a shot at earlier, and they got my tracks again. Now, I'll not go very far in this. I have had matches in this where I've barely fired a shot, maybe 2 or 3 shots, and that is simply because the game has moved so quickly that I've just physically not been able to keep up because the tank is so slow. And it's worse on some of these larger sort of corridorized maps where all the tanks might be, you know, they go around a corner or something, run into the enemy tanks, fight them off and keep going, and you just never actually see anything, or if you do, you know, it's dead before you can even get a shot off, or you might get 1 or 2 at it, that sort of thing. But this Skoda's going to have a go. But I managed to take him out. Still got plenty of health to play with. I've still got 820 health, which is, you know, getting on for just a bit under your average tier 6 heavies health pool. I think I looked at the British Bulldog, that was about 900, possibly. Roughly anyway, it might be slightly more than that, but you know, you get the idea. Now there's a T1 heavy making a run across. One more should do it. That was a slightly low roll, kind of a mercy roll. Can I get the kill on him? Might just put it through the wall and taking a hit from the side. What's popped up? Oh, it's oh, there's a KV-85. Took a bounce there. Get rid of the M2 medium. Oh no, track the KV-85 instead. Need to fix my ammo rack. And yeah, I've got a feeling this KV-85 is going to be the death of me, but I'm still going to try and do as much damage as I can to him before I do die. And there we go. So didn't go very far at all. Like I say, these are 2 quite average matches for me in this solo. People, and I have seen people do very, very well in these solo. You know, I can't do that well in it. I like it. It's good fun to go out in every now and again. Well, I think it's a bit of fun to go out in every now and again, but it can be just as frustrating as well. Like I say, do be aware, I have had matches, not just the odd one, you know, maybe 3 out of 10 where you'll fire very few shots because the match, I don't know, 3 out of 10. But anyway, regardless, I've just gone off on a tangent now, throwing out random statistics at you. Yes, anyway, another tier 6 match here, by the way. But yeah, I've had quite a lot of matches in this where the game has just moved too quickly for the TOG, and you just come out of it having done nothing. So, as much as it can be a bit of fun, it can be incredibly frustrating as well. And like I said before, this thing performs best in platoons of 2 or 3. Well, I mean, you can go 4 or 5, but you know, I'd say you want 3 is probably best. 2, like I say, are alright. 3, that's when you really start to see that difference in platooning up with them. But if you follow a couple of simple rules, you can do alright in it on your own. But you do have to be very map aware. You have to be able to read the map properly as well, because in something as slow as this. And again, Churchills, some of them, although to a degree, you know, they are quicker than this. Anybody who's been all the way up the American TD line through the T28 and especially the T95. Yeah, it's T95, isn't it, I think. Anyway, yeah. The Doom Turtle. Anybody who's sort of been into that will know the pain of trying to keep up with a fast moving game. They will also know the pain of choosing the wrong route at the beginning of a match. You know, I've chosen to come over this way thinking, well, you know, there's usually maybe 4 or 5 tanks that come down this side and sweep around, so I thought I'd maybe go down here. I wanted to be in this part so I could just start to come up out of it, use the gun depression and the rate of fire and my health pool, and either try and hold them off with the support of those TDs behind me, or at least hold them off until the team can do what they're doing over on the other side of the map. But nothing comes this way apart from a lone T1 Heavy, and I thought it was going to be one of those games again. I'm going to, you know, have a go at this T1 Heavy, probably take him down. Not being overconfident just because I've got the health and the DPM, you know, and then that's probably going to be it for the game. But I was keeping an eye on the other side of the map. I'd seen what's happened on that hill over there, roughly down the centre of the eastern side, and I'd noticed that our guys had basically well, been destroyed over there. So I was keeping an eye on that and thinking to myself, really need to try and get rid of this T1 Heavy, possibly turn around and head back towards Cap, because, like I say, very, very slow. It's taken me, what, 3 minutes to get over here? So it's probably going to take, I mean, I did stop slightly, but, you know, it's going to take me a good minute and a half, 2 minutes to get back to Cap, maybe. And like I say, looking over on the other side of the map, I'd been keeping an eye on it. I'd seen that it had, you know, kind of crumbled over there a bit, and the enemy team were now sniping from the hilltop and sort of making a push round. So I turn around and start heading back towards Cap, and that's what I mean. You've got to really try and judge as best you can where the enemy team are going to go, where you're going to be most effective. And like I say, you've got to be good at sort of reading the map, keeping an eye on it, seeing what's happening, seeing if there's going to be sort of one side's, you know, going to crumble or the flank's going to crumble. And if you are in a position to come back and do something, do so, but you're going to have to set off bloody early to do it. Now, taking a hit from somewhere over there, up on that hill. I would imagine that's probably a TD. It's got a good rate of fire, whatever it is. So I've just pulled across. I'm not spotted anymore. They'd still put a couple of sort of testing shots in to see if I was still following the same line, but I wasn't. And I'm going to try and get across and up here, but using that embankment to try and hide myself as best I can from, well, from whatever's on that hill. But the enemy tanks that were threatening our Cap have been taken care of by the 2 TDs there, and there are basically those 2 guys and myself left. But I've still got 953 health, so I've got a lot of health to play with. There's the light. I just sort of put a, you know, a quick snapshot over in his direction. Oh, took a bounce there. Just off the side, and I'm just trying to spot whatever's up there. There he is, and that's him done. Now there is a heavy tank. Oh, there he is. No experimental behind me. I'm just going to swing it round. Where is he? There he goes. You see what I mean? It is good at firing on the move. You know, you're still going to miss a few shots, but it's so slow that it is, like I say, is quite good. I mean, there are certain maps maybe that you can just keep moving and firing, things like Himmelsdorf. You do have to be careful on some of them though, like Himmelsdorf and Ensk. I've nearly got myself jammed going around corners in some of the tighter spots. But I'm not going to try and chase down this this medium tank. if those TDs are fast enough to, they can. I'm going to try and head to cap. Hopefully I'll get there before he swings around to ours, or maybe we'll see him before we do cap out. But I think the best bet in this is just head for cap and try and draw him out, because yeah, I'm not going to be chasing anything down in this. And I move over to the side so that guy can get past me. What's he in? A box tank. Still got one of those in my garage. Don't go out in it very often though. I don't know why, I just find it big and irritating at times. He's got a good gun, but the problem is that generally once he's seen, you're just going to die. Because he's that big, you're like the size of a house. So anything can hit you. But yeah, I don't know. I've really got to be in the mood to take that out. Normally I take it out, have a round in it, and that's enough. But anyway, we've got into cap. The 3002M, which is the medium that's left, he's come back to try and defend it. He's unaware that I'm here. Obviously he knows I'm somewhere, but he's not seen me yet. And there we go. He's now aware that the mighty TOG is lumbering over the hill towards him, and I'm just going to lock on, and I'm just going to keep driving forwards and just keep my finger on the trigger. And that's it. That's the match. So not too savage. Came at that with 5 kills in the end. I really didn't think I was going to come out of it with more than 1, to be honest, but sometimes it just turns around like that. But there you go, the mighty TOG. So sorry it's a bit later than I said, Mooseman. I know I said I was going to try and do it about a week or so ago, but yeah, just finally got around to it, so better late than never. But I did, well, just over 1200 damage in that one. But there you go, the TOG II. Not a particularly good tank, can be good fun, and does work well in platoons. But it really is not for everybody. But there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that anyway. I shall be back tomorrow with a with another video. I'm sorry there wasn't one last night. I forgot to completely forgot to even address that. Had an extremely busy day yesterday, and by the time I was done, I was basically that tired and in that much pain with my knees. I ended up basically just sort of falling asleep. So yeah, sorry about that, no video yesterday, but we've got this one today, and I'll be back tomorrow with another one. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.